No, I can't do this anymore. Formula One, what's going on? We can't. How can anyone support this? I'm shocked. I think if you were a fan of Formula One 30 years ago, in the 90s, 1995, 97, 98, and you enjoyed the great sport that it was then and how far it's fallen, obviously Formula One's always been a tough business, but this latest news is unbelievable. I don't know how anyone can be in support of this. It just shows how the expectations of fans can just be changed around, or maybe the fans don't care, no one cares. So what am I talking about? Obviously, well, back in August, the Alpine F1 team signed Jack Doohan for the 2025 season. So he's signed. So he's a young man with dreams, worked hard to get where he is, planning on driving a Formula One car next season. Well, guess what? Even before he gets a chance to prove that he's worthy or not worthy or whatever, it's going to be taken away. And why? Because Liberty Media, Flavio, Briatore, all the people that are in the background making money out of this supposed sport, they want this Colapinto in it because he's marketable, he's this sudden sensation. They're all clamouring to get him into a seat. They know he's going to be, like, the news is practically done. Now, it's not 100% sure he's going to be in the Alpine, but either way, let's look at it this way, right? Now, I know people are going to say, oh, when you're an Australian and Jack's an Australian, well, that's why you're complaining. Well, what's fair about this? Where is this reasonable? How do people just watch this and go, oh, that's okay, yes, keep supporting Formula One, it's a great sport. What on earth is this? How can people justify it? And there's certain drivers on the grid, if they were getting replaced before they've even turned a wheel in the car, before they've had their chance, the other drivers, let's say Oliver Bearman, if this happened to Bearman, YouTube and social media would be going nuts over this. They'd be very angry, but because it's now the latest thing in Formula One now is they want drivers from certain countries. So Liberty Media, and now it's turned out Bernie Eccleston, all these sort of people have decided that when new drivers come into the sport now, they want them to be from certain countries from growth markets or something. What's that? Why is there such a dearth of money in Formula One? They need this. Or they don't need this. Is this just pure greed? Now, I challenge anyone out there to say they're certain that Franco Colapinto is going to be faster than Jack Doohan in the Alpine car. I want to see how anyone can look at all their junior records as well as what's happening on the track right now. Well, obviously one's stuck in a garage, can't prove anything. But, all right, we've got a lot of issues with young drivers coming through into the sport. A lot of drivers have been overlooked, but Jack Doohan's the only one that actually had a contract and then he's being booted out. And he doesn't get a chance. Again, how is this acceptable? I don't know, but apparently it is. Apparently Formula One fans are on board with this. This is the new thing. It's okay. We can accept it. We want to still watch it. This is legitimate. It's reasonable. If something goes wrong, oh, well, Formula One's a Shark Tank, Piranha Club, so it's okay. Everything's okay. Bring back Flavio Briatore. That's okay. That's all good. Apparently now it's come out that Bernie Eccleston had a hand in getting Gabriel Bortoletto the Sauber seat. So Sauber had their own junior driver, Theo Pourchaire. A lot of people know about this. They've kept him on the sidelines People come up with the excuse that it took him 3 years to win Formula 2. Well, the driver they have in the car now was in Formula 2 for 3 seasons, and he didn't win it. He's not going very well, and there's no reason, if you give Guan Yu Zhou a chance in Sauber, that you don't give Theo Pourchaire a chance at Sauber. And now everyone's saying, oh, well, Gabriel Bortoleto most likely is going to win Formula 2 on his debut season. Okay, that all seems to stack up until you take into account the fact that when Theo Pourchaire entered Formula 2, he's 17 and a half. When Gabriel Bortoleto entered Formula 2, he's 19 and a half. So he's had 2 years to develop himself ahead when you look at the driver development curve. So it's not a fair and reasonable comparison. But at the end of the day, Sauber never promised Theo Pourchaire the Sauber seat. But I think it's disgusting that Bernie Ecclestone has a say that, okay, I want Sauber to take this driver because he's from Brazil. Brazil is a growth market. There's a high population. So what this means going forward, that Liberty Media and Ecclestone and all these people are going to vet the drivers, what country they're from. So if you're a country from a large population, more than 100 million, you have a good chance of getting into F1. And of course, we also know that ultra wealthy, powerful people like Carlos Slim is playing a role. So he's having a hand in keeping Sergio Perez at Red Bull. He's having a hand in getting Colapinto onto the 2025 grid at the expense of drivers that were already contracted, at the expense of drivers who are already part of a driver academy for that team, because he's got all this money behind him. And then, now I don't want to say too much bad against Gabriel Bortoleto because his results in Junior Series are very impressive. Formula 3 champion and leading the Formula 2 championship. So no matter what happens, at the end of the day, it's hard to argue against that. But it's also hard to argue, okay, Bortoleto, you take him. Why didn't you give your own junior driver a chance? Formula 1 teams these days think it's okay to treat these aspiring junior drivers like the absolute dirt, like they're rubbish. And the fans are okay with that. They're on board with that. How can anyone be on board with what's happening now in Formula 1? All the stuff that's coming out. Is that okay? If it wasn't Jack Doohan, if it was Oliver Bearman being kicked out of the sport before he's had his rookie season, just to make way for someone that's more marketable, that has money behind them, would that be okay? Of course that wouldn't be okay, and it's not okay if it's Jack Doohan. That's not okay. It's absolute depravity. It's wrong. It's against all sportsmanship. Once you've signed a contract, how can you suddenly kick someone out because someone more marketable comes along? But now it's a done practice. So it's okay to be non-trustworthy. Okay, Formula 1 is a shark tank, it's a piranha club, but that's supposed to mean that you want to compete at the highest level at all costs. It shouldn't mean that there are ultra-wealthy individuals outside of the sport trying to control which driver comes in, which driver doesn't, doing anything, no matter how morally reprehensible it is, to try and kick certain drivers out because they're not marketable. So now it's more important to have Franco Colapinto in F1 because he's Argentinian. Well, when you watch the Formula 1 races now, you see plastered all over the racetrack, Globand. Liberty Media doesn't want to lose Globand, and they'll force this guy onto the Formula One grid next season at any cost to anyone because they need that sponsorship money. And I still don't understand the fans that are sitting there going, oh yeah, it's part of the... How can people be supportive of this sort of behaviour? It's wrong. You wouldn't like it to happen to you at your job. You wouldn't like at your job to sign a contract for a promotion to a supervisor role or a manager role. You wouldn't want to sign the contract for the promotion and then get kicked out before you started in the role because someone else was more popular than you or because they paid the boss for the promotion. They paid money or someone else paid money. That would upset you. You'd be very upset. Now, Jack Doohan would have worked hard all his life. I know some people want to put him down because he has a rich father or whatever, but if you compare Mick Doohan with some of the rich people controlling Formula One now, like Carlos Slim, he's not rich at all in Formula One terms. So I know people want to be down on him because he has a rich father, but this young man's worked hard all his life to get where he is. He's been promised that promotion, he's signed the contract, and then they can go back on it. And even if he somehow gets on the grid in 2025, if he's there in 2025, he knows he doesn't have the support of the team. Even if he does get there, he knows that his own manager and the team bosses are looking around for someone who brings more money to replace him with. Is that fair? What part of fair is that? It's not. And if that's not fair, it's not a fair competition. And Formula One now, speaking more broadly, is becoming more of a show, more of a scripted entertainment. Let's talk about this stewarding business, right? Johnny Herbert's in the news all the time. Why? We get articles after articles on the internet about Johnny Herbert versus Jos Verstappen. Who cares? But the Formula One fans click on the article and they're angry like, British bias, But what they forget, everyone in Formula One, whether it's Red Bull, McLaren, whoever, they're all fighting on the same team, and that team is to make money. That team in Formula One is to make as much money, to make as much profit as possible, and they will fake a rivalry and play it over in the media just to make clicks, just to make PR, just to make enthusiastic, worked up fans clicking, click, 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 commenting, click, click, click. That's where the income is coming from. The advertising revenue. That's what it is. Now, think about it. You think Formula One's becoming like World Wrestling Entertainment. Like predetermined, scripted. They asked us to slow the car down. Title battle between Norris and Verstappen. Verstappen takes on the British media. All this silly stuff. And people buy it. Why? Of course they want you to think that there is some sort of fight going on between stewards and different team bosses. But they don't care about that because at the end of the day they all make money out of the show. This was once such a great sport. I remember growing up being mesmerised by the driving skills of Michael Schumacher. Mesmerised, what he could do in the rain. Alright, and I know that we still have good drivers in Formula One like Max Verstappen who are doing that. But the overall quality of Formula One's going down. The stuff that's happening around the fringes is, on the edges, in the lower teams. It's crazy. They have these young driver academies, and most of the drivers in the young driver academies never drive with the team that they're signed up with. Which makes you ask, what is the point? As I said with Sauber, they had their own driver, Pourchaire. 3 years ago they signed Guan Yu Zhou. He paid $30 million to take the seat. He was not part of the Sauber Driver Academy. And that brings me to another point. Before I'll finish that, Zane Maloney was also part of the Sauber Academy. Neither of these drivers, Theo Pourchaire or Zane Maloney, have been promoted to Formula One with Sauber, but instead, the one driver they chose paid $30 million a season to drive in the car, and the other driver that they've just chosen, Bernie Eccleston, pushed the team to sign him. So it's not fair and reasonable competition. There's hidden reasons why certain drivers are getting seats, and there's very few drivers coming in that aren't part of either a hype train, as I call it, where the media creates a lot of hype around it, a lot of buzz, and then when on social media people are talking about them, then that's where the income is generated for these companies. Right, Behrman, Antonelli. Antonelli's a great driver, by the way, but Behrman, Antonelli, Behrman. Remember before, and then Colapinto came along, and the hype around Colapinto is like nothing else I've ever seen in this sport. The hype around him is like, it's incomparable. It's off the Richter scale. Okay, he had 2 very good races in Azerbaijan and Singapore, and to a lesser extent America and Texas. But if it wasn't for the fan being stuck in Alex Albon's car, I don't think he would have outqualified him at Baku. And I haven't seen Franco Colapinto looking like he's faster than Alex Albon in qualifying trim. Now, Alex Albon's been making a lot of mistakes, but Colapinto doesn't look faster than him, and we're talking about Alex Albon here. We're not talking about Max Verstappen here. Max Verstappen compared to Alex Albon is that level. So if Franco Colapinto is struggling to match Albon, I don't think he's the next world champion in waiting. But he might win a championship if you're a very good driver and you have the right car. You can win the championship, of course. And he's young, he still might grow. I have to be fair where I have to be fair. But I don't see what he's done at Williams to be any more impressive than what, say, Liam Lawson has done, or what Oliver Behrman has done. And if Behrman or Lawson can do that, or Franco Colapinto, what's to say some of these other drivers that aren't getting a chance, or drivers like Jack Doohan who are being booted out of their seat before they can turn a wheel in F1, what's to say he isn't just as fast as Colapinto? No one bet on Colapinto, right? And this goes to show that Formula One teams really don't know how fast Formula 2 drivers are. Remember, the first choice for that Williams seat once Logan Sargent was dropped was Liam Lawson. Remember that. James Vowles didn't know that Franco Colapinto was that fast. He wanted to have Liam Lawson in the seat instead because he was a known quantity. That's what happened, and he couldn't get Liam Lawson, but now Red Bull want to take Franco Colapinto into their fold. The Red Bull want to sign Franco Colapinto at the expense of Isaac Hadjar, who's been ahead of him in the junior series, including Formula 3 and Formula 2 and Formula Regional European Championship. Hadjar, younger than Colapinto, ahead of him in those series, but Red Bull would rather sacrifice Hadjar and sign Colapinto. Red Bull don't know how fast Hadjar Well, he's done an FP1, a couple of FP1 sessions, but I'm not convinced that's the reason they want us to replace him with Colapinto. Right? But the point is, these Formula 1 teams really don't know how fast these drivers are, and a lot of the promotions are based on marketing, based on financial concerns. So what is the point of having the F1 Driver Academy and giving fake hope to drivers like Theo Pourchaire, Fred Vesti, Robert Schwartzman, Callum Ilott? I could go on. But at least those drivers knew they weren't getting a Formula 1 seat. But when it comes to Jack Doohan, he signed the contract and they're prepared to rip it up. I know this happened before in 2015. That was wrong then. But this is so cruel. And I don't know how people can continue to watch this sport. If Liberty Media are so keen on having drivers like Sergio Perez in the sport just because of their sponsorship money, then where is the quest for competition? Where is the quest to be the best? It's not there anymore. It's all about, can we get this driver from a growth market? He's got good sponsors. That's who we want. You've already signed a driver. He's not that market. We'll just kick him out somehow. What's that? If the Formula 1 teams don't know how fast Formula 2 drivers are, if Formula 2 drivers don't get, not only Formula 2 drivers, but F1 hopefuls, no matter where they come from, if they're not getting seat time, then they're being promoted off of hot air, right? Who's in the media? That's not really showing that Formula 1 is a meritocracy. It's not a serious sport. It's more about media and entertainment. And to that I say it's